नमस्सर्वेभ्यः दीर्घायुष्मान् भव स्त्रीभ्यः दीर्घसुमङ्गली भव सर्वव्याधिनिवारणप्राप्तिरस्तु सर्व ऐश्वर्यम् अभिवृद्धिर्भवतु सर्वमङ्गलानि भवन्तु सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु. This is my continuation, Comparative Religions, Hinduism versus Christianity, part number 27 in English. So I'm continuing. So it is, if you take the other religions, the Abrahamic texts, whether you go to Bible or Islam or Quran and all, it is more mainly a culture based. Suppose if you we are talking of Christianity now. In Christianity, also in Old Testament, if you go to Genesis chapter 19, where when I feel even ashamed, shy to talk about those things, how Lot gets further children and how the two daughters behaved with him, and they get the Moabs and the Ammons. The first daughter gets the tribe called the, how they pronounce it, I do not know. They call it as Moabites, and the Ammonites or something, the second daughter, like that. They proliferate. That is not a palatable way of begetting a progeny. I don't really understand this, but it could have been their culture. I mean, nothing, we do not know. I don't want to comment, but medically it is not advisable nowadays. Nobody does. And also, if you take in Exodus 6, chapter 20 verse, how Amram marries his father's sister and gets children like Aaron and Moses. He marries his auntie, father's sister. See, those things may be culturally true there, because the number of women may be less, or the number of men may be less, because they were all nomads, tribes moving from one place to other. Some would have died fast because health conditions, all the food conditions, the health conditions, the climate, and all may be there. But they have recorded in Old Testament all these things in the book of Genesis, the Exodus. I mean, I really don't approve, but even in our Indian culture, in the Hindu culture or in the Middle East culture, there were instances in Indian culture also amongst Hindus, especially in South, they marry cousins. That is, father and the brother and sister, they marry their children. Or in some other faith, even in India, the two males, their children get married. That is, cousins through the parents, brothers, and children through in South India, especially mother and her brother. They marry the brother also of the mother. So mother's brother also gets married in sometimes, but these are all very prevalent. That's what I'm saying. See, nothing superior in Bible to say that it is the most superior, and all other book of faiths are all not up to the standards, and you are all infidels, Adivasis, or you are all tribals, or you are all without any love and affection, and our God is the greatest. To say all these things is probably outdated. That's what I'm asking the Padriyas of Tamil Nadu or India not to have such type of a preaching and try to convert people of Hindu faith to your religion. That is absolutely not acceptable. In no way Hinduism is inferior to other texts or other ways. In fact, I would say it is more wide and superior, because you have ways of worshipping the nature. As Einstein said, you should worship the forces of nature, like Vayu Bhagavan, Agni Bhagavan, and all these forces of nature, pillars of the Maruts. And you can also in Hinduism worship the Paramatma, that is the infinite God, who is Arupi, who is without form and without guna. See, there are stages for different types of people. But these systems are not there in the Abrahamic religions. They say God, that's all. They stop there, and that God is superior. God is superior. That's what we also say. The Paramatma. Buddha says eight noble path. Eightfold noble paths. Do not speak lies, do not harm the others. All ahimsa methods. Everywhere God is worshipped in all religions. I mean, there is nothing wrong. Some take the prophet as a god, and some take, like Hinduism, the Almighty as a god. Hindus takes prophets, the devas, also as their Like when I say Matru Devo Bhava, I worship my mother, means it is out of love and respect, the treatment. See, I am in Europe and I went to a lot of places. Even when I was going to Old Testament, whether some people were questioning whether Moses existed, because there was no mention in the Old Testament about the pyramids in Egypt. Egypt was a very flourishing nation in those times, as evidenced by River Nile, as evidenced by Sphinx, the pyramids and all. But nothing, I don't see anything about it mentioned in the Old Testament. That means it must have been written later on. What is happening, I do not know. What is the time period, even I am not there. But pyramids and all are 3,000 years old. And pharaohs were existing on those times. And another thing, in the entire Europe, if you go, the belief in Christianity or going to the church is come down so remarkably low. That is, I went even to some places in Spain, in some villages, in Andorra and certain villages and all. They have converted that church into some exhibition halls. I said, when I asked the guide why it is so, because he says, no, sir, 60% of the younger generation are atheists, practically. And some percentage, higher percentage who are baptized, never come to church or never follow Christianity. Because there is nothing supernatural there. If at all you have a placebo effect. They don't want to waste their time. The guide was clearly explaining. Even when I was traveling from Rome, I went to a village called Sian, where there is a big church called Virgin Mary Church, who is supposed to cure everybody. But then the guide told me there, when the Black Plague struck these places, 2/3 of the entire Europe, people who were affected, 2/3 died in this Sian place where the Virgin Mary Church is there. So, absolutely all these churches were only with tourists, and some churches did not have even tourists, were all empty. And I went to, when I was in London, just in 28th May, I went to, the evening I walked across a church called Mary Magdalene Church. Mary Magdalene was one of the disciple or wife, we do not know. There are controversial opinions on that. But there is a church specifically for her, and I thought at around 9 o'clock in the night. 9 o'clock in the night means it's only evening. It's twilight only in London. Sun sets late in summer. So when I peeped into the church, I saw this thing, some light and all, flash and all. But then I went inside at the entrance. I saw before the altar of Jesus Christ, they have kept a very big screen, a TV, and about 10 or 12 people were watching a football match, English Liverpool versus some Spanish club finals. I was surprised. That I was asking, here, sir, nobody believes in God here, sir. It is the fact of entire Europe and not in Americas, Europeans living in Americas. Except probably in South America, some may be religious, like Peru and all. But Europe here, nobody, I think only the older generations are going to church, and that too about 30 or 40%. And that too, when I was in Rome, I was talking to some doctors. I had a brief fall. I was talking to the doctors in the hospital. They said, we are all atheists, sir. We are all communists. It is your luck that nothing happened. I said, my God saved me. He said, your luck. Therefore, modern scientists, whether in America, they have the Christian names, but none of them believe in Jesus. None of them go to the church. I asked them. They said, sir, these are all outdated for weak-minded people. We do not believe like that. That's what these doctors in Rome. Then when I went to Vatican, I saw mainly tourists there. None of them even prostrated or offered their hands to the Pope when he came to a small balcony and addressed. Nobody seems to be interested, but there were some tourists taking photographs. See, there is one thing is very clear. There is nothing supernatural in Christianity for these Christian priests to come and convert our Hindu brothers. Suppose our Hindu brothers do not have money, from the lower income group, they can take the money because they have to see their family, their stomach. I'm not saying no. But you can worship all these gods. You can practice Hinduism in its purity, and you can also go to a church where the Jesus Christ statue is kept, not the cross and the person, whosoever it is, being crucified and blood flowing or something, naked or something. I don't accept the European way of worship. For me, it is a little bit non-palatable to see a God in such a position. A God has to be positive. You like to see your king positive, not in an ICU with all the tubes running into his house. No actor or no musician or no public life persons would like to expose their sickness to the public. I mean, that's what we are brought up. When we go out, we dress well and go. Is it not? Not in a scantily dressed way, toned dress way and all. So this is where the thing lies. The lies is when I am in Europe and I am traveling to all these places, Rome, Siena, I went to Tuscany, I went to Pisa, then in Spain, in all those big churches, all lovely churches, only American tourists come and take photographs. Religiously, out of love for God, out of spirituality, out of anmig, what they say, nobody seems to go there. My cross, I'm here in one another. I would have interviewed about 50, 60 people in this individual interviews. Sorry, not even one of them believed in the Christianity or church or Jesus Christ as a God. They said, we do not know whether he even existed. So, and that the YouTubes, I checked with the YouTubes, lots of people have said, and another person, when I was in Rome, I went to the Arch of Victory, which is opposite the Roman Colosseum. I saw that victory of Arch, which is supposed to be by Constantine, who was supposed to have seen a cross while he was battling forces, and he thereby adopted Christianity and practiced Christianity, is what these fathers are telling. But the scientist, it's now has come into the YouTube. Sinchar is name. You can see the victory of Arch does not have any cross or any. Victory of Arch is mainly about Apollo, the sun god, and the Mitra. See, Romans were worshipping a pagan god called Mithras, and they were also mainly with Apollo, the sun god, like our Surya. And Mitra is a name, also name in our Vedas. I used to chant that prayer. Mitrasya Sharshani Dritaha Shravo Devasya Sanasim Satyam Chitrasya Vartamam Mitro Janan Yatayati Prajanan Mitro Dhatara Prativim Udatyam Mitra Krishtihi Ranibisha Vishashte Satyaya Havyam. Like that it goes. Mitra is a form of God given, and another name we say in our Vedas to sun god. See, Aditya was supreme. Now, that's what the forces of nature you have to worship, says Spinoza. Dr. Spinoza died in 1677 in Netherlands. He was a Jew. At his death time only his book called The Ethics was published. And he says, without the forces of nature, we can't live in this body as a human in this world, in this atmosphere. And that's what Einstein said, I believe in Spinoza's God, not in a personal God. He never accepted Jesus to be God at all. He never accepted, Oppenheimer never accepted, von Braun. They are all atheists, Oppenheimer and all. But Oppenheimer believed Bhagavad Gita, how these Hindus beautifully write. The philosophy they all appreciate. Everywhere you can see the text. Even when I interviewed, most of them, I saw some American students in learning our philosophy, and they're all joining ISKCON and other coming down to south to Tiruvannamalai and all. They are all reading our high philosophical texts, especially the Mandukya Upanishad. I saw him reading on the hills. You have to study all those Upanishads, whosoever it is, even the Christian Padriyar, the preachers, I'm asking them. I gave some books here, somewhere in Europe, to Bhagavad Gita and Tripura Rahasya. They were impressed. Because our religion only says, when you see the differences in birth, by birth itself there are differences. One man is poor, one man is rich. One man is blind, one man sees well. Now there cannot be one birth, so there must be something to it. Like the deer. If you see the animal planet, the deer being eaten alive by hyenas, deer or this cow or goat or the bison and all, what harm they do to general public? To any other creature, they only eat the grass. The grass which they get, or drink the water, that's all. But they are eaten alive, then what harm they have done? Why did God create the deer and then the God create the hyena? He could have avoided both. He created a common creature that all of these creatures go and eat the grass, the dry grass. That God could have done. Why these differences? Means they can't explain. Abrahamic texts cannot explain. Only Hinduism, Buddhism and all can explain, because there is a reincarnation. There is a rebirth. There is a cycle, because matter cannot be created or destroyed. If a body is burnt, like Nachiketa asking Yamadharmaraja, body is burnt, the body gets transformed into various sulfur, various H2Os or oxygen or carbon, we do not know. And then they go and coagulate after some time through the activation of certain physical forces, and then the energy enters, then the kick starts the life into the body, and then it became. So there must be explanation why a deer is born, and why a blind man is born, and why a king is born. That is only based on his previous prarabdha karma. That's all previous. And everything will cancel out during the existence of this universe. Everything will cancel out. A deer will be born like a man will be born like a deer, he will do that karma like that, the karma comes and does like that. If I am born poor, without anything, I will only like to steal a food and eat for myself. That stealing is a sin. So because in my previous birth I did something else bad. In this birth, if a terrorist goes and kills an innocent person, next time he'll be born as a deer, and the terrorist will be born like a hyena. The terrorist will be born like a deer, and the innocent person will be born like a hyena and eat him alive. The same way how the deer suffers. The commentator says the bison, the deer, when the hyena or the wild dogs eat, even the lions eat. Lions at least catch the gullet, catch the throat and suffocate. But these things eat from the softer portions under the legs, the milk portions, the stomach. And for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, the heart is functioning. Like I have written in my book, Do You Really Die? You can see my book, where the Ishkomion wasp stings the caterpillar so that the caterpillar is paralyzed, but its heart functions, and then it lays its eggs. The wasp lays its eggs so that the young ones can have fresh meat of the caterpillar. If the heart is stopping, then the meat gets rotten. The caterpillar dead body will be getting rotten faster. So the young ones will not take that meat. The young one wants the meat of the caterpillar. That is the young ones of the Ishkmion wasp. Wasp is it's a very poisonous insect. Okay, keep it for like a bee. That's how they develop. So in order to protect his child, it has to paralyze stinging the caterpillar. We have seen beautiful caterpillars, but in the cocoon stage, it comes and strikes. It is paralyzed, but it's alive. And the wasp lays their eggs. The eggs eat. The eggs are hatched, and they all eat the fresh meat of the caterpillar. The caterpillar poor suffers. Likewise, the young ones of the hyenas, the older ones of the hyenas all eat fresh meat. They don't really actually kill the deer or the antelope or the gore, whatever it is. They eat slowly, and the poor animal is bleeding to death, and it will be lying down on the floor. So if you do such acts of killing an animal slowly, that animal will be born like you, and you will be born like that animal, and it will take the same way the life out of you as you take the life of an animal. That's what maximum we say. We have vegetarianism. Do not harm any creature, even an insect. That's what Jainism is the best religion in the world, ahimsa. Otherwise, you have to pay. You have to pay. Simple. Next, there are about 311 trillion years is going to be there. The universe has its own energy, and then the energy may get dissipated. We are going to be born again and again unless we realize our Atma, be so pure like our sages, like our Acharyas now and before, and then you merge with your the divine light so that you are not born again. You are merged with the divine light, the photons. Therefore, why I am telling you all these things is, these things are not taught in Abrahamic religion. There is one God, you have to be good. Yes, you have to be good. The God is seeing you. Yes. You cannot do harm to anybody. Yes. That's also, we are also seeing that Satyam Vada, Dharmam Chara, all these things we are saying. Deva Pitrikaryabhyam na Pramadi Davyam. Do not ignore any Deva Pitrikar, whatever you have to do for Devas and Pujas and Pitris, all these things, please do, because their energy will help you. It's all energy. There is nothing more to it, as Einstein says. Those things are not found in Abrahamic religions. That doesn't mean that I am belittling Abrahamic religions. I am only asking those Christian priests not to come and boast, saying that your Hindu philosophy or Hindu religion, you are worshipping 1,000 gods. You please see my lectures of why we worship several gods. It is there in the YouTube. Out of my 204 videos, you select, the heading will be there. Forces of nature, you have to respect. You have to respect. If you have a dog in your house, you have to respect. You have to feed it. You have to be kind to it. It will give it to you in its love and affection equally back. Every action, there is an equal and an opposite reaction. And I also pet my dog. I want it. I love it. The cow, it gives me more milk. I love it. I worship it. I respect. Worship means respect. So you cannot just find fault with Hinduism and saying you people worship dogs, you worship cats. That's me. Now you're saying environmental engineering. Now everybody wants to have a animal welfare board. Practice vegetarianism, practice kindness, and practice ahimsa, as Bhagavan himself very clearly has stated, whether it is in chapter 16, verses 1 and 2, where ahimsa, satyam, akrodaha, tyagam, and all as apaishuram, no backbiting, or you go to Mahabharata, Anushasana Parva, chapter 13, you read all these things, how ahimsa is greater than dhanam, ahimsa is greater than satyam, and teach ahimsa. That's what our Mahatma Gandhi said. Okay, my dear viewers, with this I am ending my episodes. So there is nothing so great about all these Abrahamic faiths to surpass and take Hinduism as an ocean. You can take any section applicable to you and then practice it. It's an ocean. I'm not trying to hear boast, because I believe in all gods, all prophets, because Acharya Devo Bhava. If I am a true follower of Hinduism, any Acharya Devo Bhava, whether it's Acharya of Christ or prophet or whatever it is, or Jainism or Buddhism or Sikhism, they have to be treated as a Deva, as a God. Paramatma is different. So, my dear friends, with this I am ending this title, Comparative Religions of Hinduism versus Christianity, and the more we shall see in the ensuing sessions, more I am going to bring out verses from Bhagavad Gita, verses from Tripura Ragasya, verses from Tirukkural et al. To explain the mighty Hinduism, both in all spheres of philosophy or ethics or spirituality, how Hinduism is superior. Thank you. With this, I am ending this series and continuing fresh in the next session. Till such time, Bhuyat Tavat Shubhamangalam Sarve Janah Sukhino Bhavantu. Hari Om.